We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
You know I blame it on industry. I blame it on my own hypocrisy. It's education and politicians. No one's willing to step up and speak.
Hello and welcome to the Pace Radio Show. It's December the 15th, 2021, and we are live and coming to you from paceradio.net. Tonight, Kim and I are doing something different. This is something that we do once a year. Right, Kim?
That's right. Once a year, we go through some past shows. Our year in review show is tonight.
That's right, exactly. The two of us, we put a list together with, some people who we'd like to maybe hear from again, knowing that there's no way that we're going to get to cover everybody that we've had here on the show.
No.
Even to have,
we've had 50 shows this year.
Yeah, you'd have to have 2 minutes of each person. And believe me, I cut down shows down, these little segments down. That we're going to play some audio clips tonight. And I cut them down to like anywhere from 5 to 7 minutes. And to do that, to get that 7-minute clip, sometimes I was 2 to 3 hours. I was like, what? Because it's an hour and a half show, so you're going through the whole show. And then you're cutting and pasting. And it's just, Yeah, it takes a while. So we've got, I don't know what we got tonight. We've got like a dozen, maybe 15 different audio sets. And then we've got, there's people's names that will just come up along and we'll just mention and discuss, their interview that we had with them.
Yeah, absolutely. We put together our top dozen between the two of us that we chose from. And we hope you enjoy some of the clips that we've had going on for the last year.
Yes. Now, before we get into that stuff, okay, what I want to mention first is, as you said, this is the year in review show. We are done after tonight's show for 2021. We don't return to the air until 2022.
2022. Yes, we're on vacation. It's a much-deserved 3 weeks off.
Yeah, the next Pace Radio show will be on January the 12th. That is because on January the 5th, the network year in review show will be broadcasted at this time, and that will involve the different hosts on the network. We'll be talking about the guests that they've had on some of their shows, as well as the news and the additions to the network as well.
Yes, absolutely. Lots of additions to the network, so there's lots to discuss on our yearly year in review show for the network.
That's right. Yes. And we'll be doing that on StreamYard, just so anybody knows. Come join us and watch the program from there. So, all right. And then, of course, we're going to have the audio podcast released here through Spreaker, so it's sent out to all our listeners around the world on all the different audio apps as well. So nobody's going to miss anything. That's right. All right, so we should just get started here. First up, what we've got is Ted Smith from the Victoria's Cannabis Buyers Club, and out there on the West Coast. And it's always good to talk with Ted, is it not?
It sure is. And what a knowledgeable fellow he is. And he has done so much for our community and for this industry in the last, 3 decades.
Yes, exactly. If court battles, all that. As we've said, when we've had him on the show, we could have multiple shows back to back with him because it's just so much to talk about. And I managed to squeeze Ted down to just a little bit more than 6 minutes. But it was tough, but we got it. I got some in there, and this is going to touch on the Victoria Cannabis Buyers Club, the history behind it, as well as consumption lounges at the center, as well as fighting to keep it open. Being that, Edmonton, or actually, is it Edmonton? Alberta. Was it Manitoba? Manitoba? Manitoba's bringing in some information, asking for information on lounges. Ontario's in a certain spot, but there's nobody happening tomorrow on it. But it'd be interesting. Ted talks about in this clip how he's going about it, how he's arguing the case. So we'll listen to that. All right.
Awesome. For people out there that aren't aware maybe of what's going on, give us a quick overbite there of what the VCBC is, and what's been taking place there and the evolution there.
Okay, yeah, it's probably good for a lot of people because it's a long history. So I guess over 25 years ago, I started the club here in Victoria, just living in a van with a pager and a pamphlet, and started to meet patients and do my advocacy work. And we've grown now to over 8,000 patients in a storefront that we've had for over 20 years now. And we've had a lot of challenges in that 20 years, or 25 years, including many court battles that we've been victorious in, and including our infamous Smith decision of 2015 that made edibles and extracts legal for patients and was one of the final straws in prohibition for recreational purposes as well. Yes. And so, the club's not had an exactly a straight line in its growth through this. It's been an up and down roller coaster for a lot of reasons, including personal reasons, where I lost my love, Gail Quinn, a few years ago to cancer, and took some time out after that. And so, and then coming back, I had a whole new situation to deal with legalization, which is something that we've been unwilling to comply with, given how many problems there are for patients, and how much worse it would have been for our patients had we just shut down our doors and left them to the current legal system for medical patients or recreational. And so, it's been quite the journey. Not even just a dispensary. We've got, pre-COVID at least, a smoking lounge. Yes. That, typically, there's a big, concern about the effects of these types of lounges in neighborhoods and whatever. But I was able to tell our neighborhood that we had a free, patient-only lounge that we'd been, sitting and smoking pot in like every day, all day, and you guys didn't even know it. So you can't complain now, 8 years after, that there's some problem that you didn't even know was going on.
Where is that now? Because you've gone in front of the city, and you dealt with the city and the province end of things with that, with the becoming a lounge. Are you looking for an exemption
with the lounge? Okay, yeah, because there's some. It's pretty wild how many levels of government that we're standing up to here. And so we had a visit a couple of years ago from inspectors with WorkSafe BC and the Vancouver Island Health Authority, and it was their intention to shut our smoking room down. And so we refused to comply and took them both on. It was interesting how it went. WorkSafe at first, was being really standoffish, and then I'm a pretty friendly guy, even to people that I'm arguing with, and pretty good at getting information out of them. And so at a meeting with Island Health and WorkSafe, I was told that WorkSafe was going to be creating cannabis regulations that would deal with cannabis in the workplace, because currently the rules are around tobacco. And so I said that, I asked to hear about them and asked some questions, and it turned out that there would be an exemption within these rules that we could apply for, and was told that that exemption would be based upon whether or not the facility in question would make the workplace more or less safe for the employees. And at that point, I was able to determine that there's all sorts of regulations about particulates in the air, so that we would be able to have the ventilation in place for employees to be safe if there was smoking in the facility. On the second visit with the island health inspector, it was pretty funny because, again, I'm just this really polite guy. At one point, he came into the lounge, and one of the members did a dab of shatter in front of him. And he was like, "What is going on there?" So, the inspectors were quite insistent about shutting the room down and that it needed to be closed, until I cited the Morgentaler case. The Morgentaler case is around abortions, and it was one of the first medical law cases that really distinguished what rights patients had. And so that was really what I used to build the foundations of this club on, because I came up with this club before we had any cannabis laws at all, right? Like, this month is a 20-year anniversary of the MMAR, and we were open 5 years before that. And so, I looked at the Morgentaler decision, so I just started to cite patients' rights to access to medicine and to a safe place to use their medicine. And, when he realized that there's no money being paid to use the space, it really is a private space, it's not public, it's a private member space. And they just kind of decided that we weren't going to be, punished anymore.
There you go, Kim. There's the history, and our listeners as well, the history of the VCBC, how Ted got things started out of the back of his van, Kim. He used what he could use.
It would help if I unmuted my mic.
There you go.
Yeah, the back of his van. Imagine that, and look at him now.
Yeah.
He's come so far, and he's moved this movement ahead so far. We owe a hell of a lot to that guy.
We sure do. And the Smith decision, VCBC, was huge. With Owen being involved in there. And them being involved in the whole thing, from helping with it, from paying funds, raising funds, getting them here, all the court challenges, everything. It was quite the thing, and I know you were there, or I was there. It was enjoyable to see the way everybody reacted after the judges spoke. So.
Absolutely. We knew it was a win. There was no way that they could rule any other way at the conclusion of that trial. Yeah. It was epic to see. We got kicked out of the overflow room. Yeah. They had to move us because our cheers were emanating up into the judges' chambers and into the main body of the courthouse. And they moved us to the other side of the building because we were cheering too loudly, and it was disturbing the judges.
Gee, that's a happy bunch. Now, in that clip, he also talked about the lounge, the consumption lounge there, that he is that they have for the club. And how he has to go towards dealing with the province and dealing with the municipality. I'm not sure, probably the feds at one end, part of it all there as well. And how they've been there all these years. And this guy says to him, "Well, you can't have a consumption lounge." And he says, "Well, we've been here all this time. It's been operating. Obviously, it hasn't been a problem,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
And
They
that
didn't
was
even know it was there. So that shows you. That shows you right there. The guy didn't even know. He thought it was a new thing that they were building. It's like, buddy, we've been here for almost a decade. And they were in shock because they simply didn't know. That just shows you. It isn't a problem then, right?
Yeah.
It's been right under your nose, literally, for a decade.
Exactly. So, and then in the end, he talks about the Morgentaler case. And how he brings that up in the patient end and things and rights and stuff. And they've made a concession or a spot to, keep them going for now. But at that time, when we had them there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Great guy, great interview, and plenty more to come. Who's next?
Next, Corey. Corey Yellen is next.
Corey.
Yes.
Corey Yellen. What a great lady. She struggled with her own battle and came through the other side, got an education and a drive to help others.
Sure did. She sure did. In this clip that we've got here, it's almost a 10-minute clip. It was hard to, she's got the story, quite an incredible patient story, and I didn't want to leave any of it out. I'll tell you. And in the beginning of this clip, she's going to talk about discovering cannabis as far as accessing it, and she's going to talk about the VCBC. We just heard that TED talk about history, so we're going to hear a little bit about that from her and her experience from there, and then she's going to talk about her story of dealing with cancer, and I'll tell you, it's an incredible one, isn't it, Kim? So
It sure is. Let's have a listen to Corey Yellen.
all right.
But the Victoria Cannabis Buyers Club is sure near and dear to my heart. When I was fighting for my own life, there weren't a whole bunch of dispensaries. And the only place that I could get any help cannabis-wise was through the Victoria Cannabis Buyers Club. If it wasn't for them, I would quite likely not be alive today. For those who don't know, I was diagnosed in July of 2011 with anal cancer. I was given 2 to 4 months, 6 on the outside, if I didn't do radiation, which I later down the road found out they didn't expect would work. However, I digress. So I went to the cancer clinic and I took 2 people with me to make sure I heard everything. And it was like going to a meat market. The guy was very blasé, and he's like, well, this is the worst part of the body to treat, and we're going to hit your coccyx and your pubic bones, so you'll have bone deterioration. We're going to try not to hit your spine. Oh, yes, he goes, like, just matter-of-factly, oh, yes, your vagina will probably fuse shut, and your rectum will probably fuse shut, too. Then he proceeded to tell me I'd have 2nd and 3rd degree burns perianally, vaginally, across my buttocks. And I remember thinking, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't give me straight answers on pain control, and he wouldn't talk about long-term side effects. So I looked at him and told him I wanted some time to think about it. I didn't even mention the cannabis word at that point. And he got quite angry. He told me I had 2 to 4 months, stood up, stormed out. As he's going out the door, he told me I had a death wish. We went upstairs to the library, and there wasn't a lot on anal cancer, but what there was, one of the most interesting things was, what was the #1 cause of anal cancer? Radiation. So somebody had, my sister actually, had sent me the video Run from the Cure. And so I hadn't watched it. And I used to, back in the day, work counseling terminally ill cancer patients coming from a holistic vein. So I thought that I pretty much knew everything there was to know about alternative treatments. And so I wasn't exactly diving into this, and she phoned me and said, have you watched it? And I'm like, no. So I thought, oh my God, I'll watch 5 minutes a day, get her off my back. So anyways,
you can't watch 5 minutes of that.
So I sit down and I watch the first 5 minutes. I went, holy shit. I watched the whole thing. Then I called my doctor friend. I have an internationally known physician friend in Italy. I phoned him up and said, Danielle, what do you know about this? And he's like, oh, Corey, we've been treating cancer with cannabinoids for years here.
Yeah.
And so I proceeded to research it. That's all I did day in, day out for 2-3 weeks. And at the end of it, I decided that that's what I was going to do. And I had been corresponding with a lady, Kim, who was the same age as me, same diagnosis, same proposed treatment. We were identical. She was in the States. And in the end, I said to her, I think this is what I'm going to do. And she chose to do the radiation route. And just before Christmas of that year, I received a very sad letter from her husband saying that she had passed away from an infection to the radiation burns. And she left behind a 12-year-old. She had had a child late in life, and she left behind a 12-year-old. So I decided I was going to do this cannabis oil. I went to my doctor. I had 2 GPs that shared an office, and the one GP, I asked her, and she said, I don't believe in cannabis. It's against my religion.
Oh, good Lord.
Seriously, it's against her religion. And I thought, oh, God, okay. So now what am I going to do? So there were 2 places in town I could go, and the first place said, we can't do this without a note from your doctor. But he said, you might want to try the Victoria Cannabis Buyers Club if you've got some medical documentation, which I had. I had all the results, the biopsies and all that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, as I mentioned earlier, I ended up going to the Victoria Cannabis Buyers Club, where I was able to access cannabis to make the oil. But that in itself was quite an adventure too, okay? Because the rest is history. I remember looking at this black stuff and thinking, this is going to save my life. First time I took it, I was so scared. I was one of those people, when I smoked cannabis, I got super paranoid. The first time I took oil, I was really, really frightened. And I had a friend stay with me. You're going to laugh. 9 hours.
Stay just in case.
Just in case. I'm like, okay, I think I'm going to be all right. When I started taking this oil, I was in really bad shape because I didn't just have this terminal cancer diagnosis. I had something called post-sternotomy syndrome from having had open heart surgery. And so for 5 years, I had been this wreck. I looked like a little old lady crumpled over. I was in agony. I was on a crap load of painkillers. I was on 10 to 15 Tylenol 3 a day, Dilaudid, morphine, Percocet, opium, you name it, I had it. And
the opiate train.
What's that?
The opiate train. They love
Yeah,
that
the opiate train.
Don't they love doing that to you?
It would hardly work at all. I couldn't wait for night to come so I could sleep. I'd take a sleeping pill. I'd sleep for a couple of hours. I'd wake up racking in pain. I'd sit on my patio, rocking back and forth, crying till morning. And then I'd say, okay, I made it through another night. And that was my life for 5 years. Within 10 days of doing oil, something I hadn't even counted on happening took place. I didn't require painkillers. In 10 days, I went from all of those pain medications down to half a Tylenol 3.
There you go.
And I have not had any pain medication of any kind in, 9.5 years now? Individual, him coming up to me and going, you look great. Like, you look like really great. Like, even your skin looks different.
Yeah.
And that was very early days. That was within a couple of weeks. And I would literally have people walk by me and they didn't even recognize me because the change was so dramatic.
Yeah.
So I never went back to the doctor for an entire year because I figured it was still there because I hadn't done the magic formula.
Right.
And also I didn't want any more bad news. So,
you're just like, well, I'm past my 90 days where they said I was going to be gone. I'm still here, so I'm just going to go.
Yeah.
Let's just carry on.
I'm good.
Exactly.
And I remember talking to my son and saying, I don't know, Michael, quality or quantity, and him saying to me, I support you, whatever you choose, and so he was supportive when he knew I was doing oil. So I made my way back to the doctor finally. I thought, I guess I should go in and get checked. And So he examined me, and he's not read the chart or anything, right?
Yeah.
Oh, no, this isn't my GP. This is a specialist.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, we need to talk. So I proceeded to tell him about, the video and everything and what I'd found out in my research. And he listened with rapt attention for 15 minutes to me. And then at the end, got up, walked across the room, got down on one knee, took his hands in mine and said, I want you to know that I stand behind you 100% in what you're doing and that I will follow you. He said, I don't know anything about it, but I stand behind you. So here I am finally back there, and he examines me, and he just gets really quiet. And he said, do you mind if I have another look? Anyway, so he did this 3 times, and I'm thinking, shit, this has gotten really bad or something, right? And he looks at me, and he's like, it's gone. It's completely gone. He said,
Gone.
I would never know that you had cancer if I hadn't seen it, sort of thing. He said, there's not even any scar tissue.
Nothing.
Wow.
Because see,
And then-
I had gone in. He had taken me into the operating room and done a couple of biopsies. So, so the way he explained it to me was the tumors were like big cauliflowers, and you cut off the top of the head of them, but there were all these stems and stuff left. And he said there was nothing. And he even said in his report to my GP that he was absolutely stunned that there was no scarring, absolutely nothing.
It's amazing. I'm not sure what's happened to Mr. Graham. He doesn't seem to be with us. The clip is over and he is not there. I'm not able to go to a commercial break because he's the one running the board tonight and I don't have access to it. So I'm just going to kind of babble on. Oh, I don't know where Mr. Graham is. I wish I could play a commercial for you guys, but I can't do that. I can't even call in a guest to help me through this or anything. Hmm. You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Growing your own vegetables, flowers, or even medicinal plants can be a challenge without the right equipment and proper know-how. At BMA Hydroponics, not only are they your urban horticultural experts and suppliers, but their staff holds the customer's needs paramount to making a sale. Family-owned with decades of experience and knowledge, they offer free advice in person, by phone, or email. BMA Hydroponics wants to ensure you have the advice you need, which is why you'll find tips and tricks on different ways to grow, like wick, ebb and flow, drip, or aeroponic system, as well as other helpful links at bmahydroponics.com. If you can't find what you're looking for, just let them know, and they'll do everything they can to get what you're looking for. At BMA Hydroponics, each staff member also possesses a federal exemptee MMAR license, making their strong suit empathy, experience, and dedication to their customers. Because when you know how to grow, you'll have results that make you proud. BMA Hydroponics in Belleville, Ontario. Visit bmahydroponics.com.
CP operates a medicinal cannabis signing clinic. If you want to grow your own medicinal cannabis and are located anywhere in Canada, then I'd like to suggest that you give them a call. They can be reached at 1-613-967-9888. That's 1-613-967-9888. And grow on with CTCP.
Pace Radio is the people advocating cannabis education Radio Network.
A doctor's job is to relieve your pains. And when it comes to growing cannabis, the biggest pain is trimming. Let Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions take the pain away. Whether you're a home grower or a commercial operation, we have the cure. From 4 plants to 400 plants, garden size doesn't matter. Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions comes to you with years of experience and professional discreet service. It's simple. We trim your weed and we do a damn good job. Visit drbuckcts.com to book your trimming.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
The People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network, found at paceradio.net, provides its listeners with news, information, and a place to be heard. This is done through our 5 weekly live video and audio broadcasts that cover cannabis and psychedelic news, plus those we interview. We get started Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern with the Reefer Reporters. Then at 9 p.m. we're live with Canada Quebec. Tuesday brings you Open Your Eye or the Psychedelic Reporters at 7 p.m. Wednesday at 8, we are live with the Pace Radio Show, but we're not done yet, because on Thursday, the Reefer Reporters return with another Reefer Report. Meanwhile, once a month, Thursdays bring you the Grassroots Advocate, the Pace Radio Network's audio magazine. All these shows, plus more, are found right here on paceradio.net.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
They can't hear you. I've got Spreaker on, but the commercial is still playing because there is a bit of a lag. So I've got Al in my ear, but apparently he's not showing up on the air. We're having some technical difficulties tonight. Yeah. Okay. So I've got Spreaker on, and that's driving me nuts. I have to turn that off for a second. Hearing myself talk a couple of seconds ago is a little bit nerve-wracking. So Al can't hear you, or you can't hear Al. I can hear Al, but you guys can't hear Al. So that's a bit of a drag for Al, for sure. But we're going to play our next clip, and he's able to run the clips from the board there. And so you folks can listen in on the next one. We're going to hear from a musician that we had on that helped us out with another show here on the network. Cindy Howell and myself started a brand new show, the first video podcast on the network that we launched. And it's called Open Your Eye, and it's a focus on psychedelic medicine, speaking to people in the industry as well as patients. And Essie graciously offered to do our lyrics for our music. So the music intro was done, electronic music intro was done by my son, Graham Snape, and Essie Thomas volunteered to do the lyrics. And the lyrics were very simple. It was one phrase, open your eye. But I had a certain tone that I was looking for, and I had it in my head, and I needed a musician that could get into my head with me and figure out what I was looking for. And wow, did she ever fit the bill there. She did a bang-up job for our opening, and we had her on the show and got some back history on how I met Essie way back when in BC at the Mom Cup in Vancouver. So Al, I guess you're technician tonight in the background. We might as well play that clip. And while it's playing, we'll try and work some magic and get you back in.
And wow, I was blown away by your music, and I've been following you ever since.
Yeah, that was, thank you.
firstly, and then there was a nice little group of us from Nimbin at the Cannabis Cup that year. That was the first time that I had left Australia. It was my first international trip, and a few months beforehand, Asia May Moon got in contact with me and said, "We want you to come and play at this event, and we'll bring you over to Canada." And I was like, I always like to think of myself musically as big in my hometown. Hometown being probably about 500 people or so. So
sounds like Kirkland Lake.
Yeah, that's it. Nimbin, it's a one street town. You blink and you'll miss it. So I like to think I'm pretty big in Nimbin. So I get this message, and and they were really hesitant. They were sort of like, we're not really sure if you'll want to come, and we'll pay for your flights and we'll bring you out, and we'd really love to have you at the Mutton Cup, and what do you think? And I was like, is this a joke? Like, are you serious? and they were like, no, it's definitely not a joke. Let's book your flights. And 2 months later, I was on a plane and in Canada, and it was just such a whirlwind. I actually had no idea that there was other folks coming from Nimbin, or even from Australia for that matter.
Really?
So I got there, I got picked up at the airport and dropped off at a hotel. I was just like, first thing, it was so overwhelming for me. I always like to know my plan A, my plan B, and when I do new things, I get so excited and so overwhelmed that sometimes I just need to stand in front of a wall and have a little sob, right? So it's to the point where I'm about to go through the airport to leave from Brisbane, Australia, and I walk into the duty free, and the woman says, "Hi, how are you?" And I was like, "Very good, thanks. I'll be over here for a moment." Go over to the wall and just have to collect myself. And the journey just went from there. It went from, having a little overwhelming stand in front of a wall for a few moments collecting myself at the Brisbane airport, to being in Canada and it's freezing cold and it's a new country, and it was amazing. It was so amazing. But also, fun fact, I was there to sing and play music, and cannabis, THC, makes me tone deaf. So, it's now I love some CBD. Absolutely loved CBD oil, CBD in foods, and CBD to smoke. Absolutely love it. But get me in a room with 200 other people, and they're all smoking, and I was like,
there was a lot there. You had to be messed right up. There was no way anybody was walking around in there straight. There's no way.
I know, right? And I was standing there going, this is the biggest gig of my life, and I am rich.
Yeah, you're hotboxed.
Yeah.
Oh, welcome to the cannabis community in Canada.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks. Hadn't been that baked since I was a teenager, tell you what. I have very vivid memories of being out on a deck. It wasn't snowing, it was sleet.
Yeah.
But in my mind, it's snowing, right?
Yeah.
So I'm outside and I'm like piling up the sleet going, it's snowing. And the girls inside going, oh yeah, Aussie, she's never seen snow, and then of course we're in a gay bar, so all the queens are standing there going, oh, she's never seen snow before, so I'm just, and they're all standing there having a little giggle at me. It was the best thing in the world in my mind. Yeah, the thing I couldn't believe is that I was so rugged up, I felt like I was wearing 5 duvets, and everyone else was just maybe in just like a lightweight puffer, and I was. If the accent didn't give me away, the jackets definitely did. And not only that, but they were all borrowed clothes as well, because of course I've packed my suitcase, and I'm like, I'm going to take this shirt, and I'm going to take this shirt, and it might be a little bit cold. I'll take this windbreaker, but of course I get there and I'm freezing.
Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we're going to play a little bit of Essie's music going in and out of commercial breaks. So before I play that, I'm going to ask you about the song. And this one's is a bit of a song called Billy's Song.
Oh, goodness. Yes, well, this song is representative of what happens when you fall in love with a hula hooping gypsy who lives in a vehicle and owns a cockatoo.
That would be an interesting scenario.
And we are back from that clip with Essie Thomas, a great lady, great musician. We've played around with some buttons while we were down and out there as well. And we're going to try and see if maybe Al is going to be able to come back. So we're going to do another test here. Al, are you with us?
Can you hear me, Kim?
I can hear you, but I'm unsure if our listener
I can.
or not.
Okay. All right. Well, I can tell you right now by watching the board, I can see my audio moving in my section, and I can see my audio in the output. So that tells me that our listeners can hear me.
And it just came through on Spreaker. So yes, you're back. Hooray!
Yes, I'm back. Yes.
It's so much better being the joint host than it is on your own.
Oh yes, yes. We weren't gonna. I just didn't want to. We had to keep going somehow, and we did have another plan. If this didn't work, we did have another plan we were going to try, and I'm glad that it worked out. This is going to do that. So, but yeah, that was Essie. That was great. That was quite the story, her journey coming here to Canada to do the Cup and coming across the snow and everything. It sounded like yeah. She didn't. The snow was quite the experience for her.
Yeah, I love that, and the way she described herself being dressed was completely accurate. I've just got to say that she was multi-layered. All of them from Australia were. They had coats given to them by everybody in the cannabis community in Vancouver was passing over coats. She looked like the Michelin Man. Just all these, she had several puffy coats on, and it was pretty hilarious. Yeah, they weren't used to the cold at all.
Yeah, and then she moved south back into the warmth, but didn't go back to Australia. She went down to the U.S., right? She's in Los Angeles. She's in California or whatever.
Yeah, she's in Cali now. She lives in Cali. She's gotten married. She came across the love of her life, she says. She married a beautiful woman down in California, and she has emigrated to California and lives there full time now.
Nice. It's good to and it was good to hear some of her music. Like I know that we played a couple songs during the whole broadcast. So I was glad tonight that we were able to take some of that and play it tonight because I like that stuff. I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
So,
great.
Yeah.
He's great. He's awesome. We've had so many awesome guests on, and we're not done yet, especially with all our technical difficulties taking up extra time. This is going to be a long show tonight, so get comfy, folks.
That's right.
After Essie, we're gonna go in to talk a little bit about a lady very well known in the cannabis community. Jennifer Pixie is up next, and I missed this show. I wasn't part of this show. This was during my my summer break off while I was moving, and we were building our temporary lodgings for this first year up here on the farm. So we had a fill-in. Lo joined you that night.
Yes, exactly. Lo Clark joined me that night for the program, and that was the first time she had filled in, and she was eager to do so. And from what she told me, and just listening to her during the broadcast, She really enjoyed doing so, being involved in the conversation with Jennifer. And the two of them, they ended up realizing during the broadcast that they were actually together on the same float in Toronto during a Pride parade. That they didn't realize it at that time. But during the show, they clicked in.
World.
Holy shit, we were on the same floor. So yeah.
Very small world. All right.
Exactly.
Cool. Well, let's have a listen to Jennifer Pixie.
Yeah.
And a bit of her story.
Yes, this is a catch up with her. We're going to talk about her first experience with cannabis, working with the patient while she was with the Care Center, and also she's got into a new company, and she talks about the new generation as well. So here we go. Get back in touch with Jennifer, see what she's been doing, and see what the future holds with her.
Yeah, it has been a surprisingly busy couple of years, despite the global situation.
Yeah,
people do still need their meds, so we're grateful to be an essential service, even if it's not necessarily recognized as an essential service.
Right.
Well, I would say my initial experiences with cannabis were definitely recreational. I was an early teen when I first experimented with smoking cannabis, and I do have a funny story about the very first time that a friend took me. We went to a park, and she said, I got some really nice stuff, and I got a new bong, and we're gonna christen my bong. And I was really excited because I'd never smoked a bong before. And so we're sitting in this park, and she hands me this little pink acrylic bong, and she says, "You hold this. I'm going to put the water in." So she pours the water in, and then she hands me a bud, and she says, "You just put that in there, and then I'll find the lighter." And I looked down at this pink tube, and I looked into the water, and I thought, well, here's to trying something new, and I tossed the bud right down the tube into the water. And she turned around and she said, "Just toss it in there." So I tossed it in and hoped for the best. I did come to the medical side of things fairly early, considering I was diagnosed with several medical conditions in my early or mid-teens, and I found that cannabis use definitely alleviated my pain and a lot of my anxiety and things like that that weren't necessarily a known medical use, but I was certainly already acknowledging that internally as being a benefit for myself. And I found Calm, which is one of Canada's oldest medical access dispensaries, compassion centers, whatever you want to call them. I really loved being able to work there and meet patients and talk to them. And I can remember one who had a stammer, and he wasn't able to find any medical documentation that was able to prove that a stammer was helped by cannabis, but he knew, and he was using it effectively, and he was trying really hard to speak to his doctors about it, and the anxiety of the conversation itself became such a stopping point that he wasn't able to just broach the subject even. So he was when he came to us, he was able to email us, and we conversed through our online sources, and I was able to discuss it with his physician at his request and with his medical release in order to converse with the doctor. And the doctor was so surprised that this was a contemplation of his patient, and was so excited that we were willing to help the patient on such an intimate level to make a phone call and say, so first step, we need the medical release. Second of all, we're going to book an appointment to call you and talk to you about this patient, and broach this subject with him. And he was so excited that his patient had found something that worked.
That's a good doctor. That's a good.
And he had never contemplated it. It was not even in his field of vision as a physician to think of cannabis as being something that might help someone who had a very severe stammer. But I'm really pleased to be bringing to the regulated market a new company that is called Blast. So our name stands for Biomass, Logistics, and Strategic Transformation. Basically, what we want to do is to take the items that these licensed producers are creating and make them into products that the consumer market really wants. I think it takes some new blood, as you call it. Like there needs to be a new wave of activists that have that drive to make the change happen. You know, not to say that we're tired or not willing to put in that hours, but I think that there's a new generation of people who have grown up with, like, not maybe grown up, but come of age in legalization, and to them, it isn't different than alcohol. So why is it treated as such, and why shouldn't there be? And the generation that grew up with a very much more open and honest and reasonable drug policy, I think that's going to be the driving force between the next evolution of legalization and community consumption, I think.
There you go. Heard from Jennifer there. I made a mistake there in the intro. There was a patient that she was dealing with from Calm. I was thinking the care center that she was involved with after that. But yeah, with Calm. And you can see there, Kim, she got right involved, contacting the doctor and letting the doctor know what's going on and the benefit that the patient was seeing.
And she was very lucky to have a doctor that was willing to work with her as well and accept what she was saying. You know, so many patients haven't had that luxury, and it's so refreshing to see it when we've got an opportunity to have a doctor that's looking for knowledge that this patient has, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. And that new company, I don't know where they're at right now, but making products out of the legal products that patients want. I have to get an update from her on that. And when we're talking about the new generation, we're talking about drug policy, vapor lounges, moving ahead in getting changes with legalization and things along that line. And and how the new generation and people, it's just like when we got involved, we were the next group of people that come along. We were a new group that joined in, and now there's people who have done that behind us, and there'll be people behind them that they've educated, and they start speaking up.
Yeah, that's right. And it's been a long train, of people pushing this movement ahead. There's certain members of our community that are sort of catalysts in all of it that really give us a good shove forward, and then we coast for a little while with all of us doing our thing to slowly move the train ahead, and every once in a while we get a good boost, and it's people like this that give us those boosts by educating doctors and bringing the medical community into the fold. And that's so important, right?
Exactly.
And then we have others that do it through art.
Yeah, that's right. We sure do.
Do it through art. And our next person that we're going to talk to, Joshua Boulay, otherwise known as just simply Boulay, a great artist that has traveled the globe, sketching his way around the world, and doing some great cannabis pieces along the way.
Sure has. I know I met him, and I believe, I don't know if it's in this segment or not, but I did meet him in person at TY Expo, and he did a fantastic drawing, as if you were sitting in a drone overlooking the expo, and everybody that was involved in it. You could see different, like you could read the detail, the fine detail on the shirts, and it was an amazing piece of art that he did there, and obviously, that's not the only art he did. He did all kinds, like Reefer. What was that?
Yeah.
Reefer.
The Reefer guy.
Yeah, the superhero. He's going to be talking about
the superhero one.
Yeah, he'll be talking about that during this, and two other things. Tonight, the mic problem. It's just fitting because during our conversation with Josh, okay, his call kept getting dropped, and that's part of what we're going to hear about tonight, and we're also going to hear about a joke that he played and how it went viral.
Yeah, it did.
It did. There we go. All righty. We'll hear from Josh.
During conversation with my partner here on the station, Al, lo and behold, I find out there's also a tie to TY.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's right. That's where Josh and I would have met during TY and the Expo.
It's funny how we've all come into this space right here in this moment in time from different directions and all through your art. How tell us about the start of your journey, this marvelous journey that you've been on. How the hell did you decide to just start drawing everywhere you went? It's a passion.
It was just like something I needed to do, just being fed up with not doing what I felt like I was supposed to be doing, and just going for it, just doing it, not questioning it, not thinking about it, just buying a plane ticket, jumping on the plane, and worrying about things once I got there. TY was actually going to Toronto was some of the first places I actually started traveling to.
Really, eh?
Yep.
Yeah, you would have, Georgia Tunes was there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember me, but I was there as well. You were doing the Green Reaper. Green Reaper? Reefer?
Yeah.
Green Reefer?
Yep. Green Reefer, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Cannabis superhero.
Yes.
And I've used that drawing on my page before I even knew you drew it.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, awesome.
It's amazing how art can bring everyone together.
Totally. That is definitely a great thing about art, and I feel very lucky sometimes when people say things like that, and that is a realization. It's just beautiful, yeah.
In Lisbon and in Paris and all over the friggin' place.
Oh yeah, there was I don't know the exact number, but there's probably like 10 places I did in Europe and equal in Asia as well. Basically, it was kind of like what I was saying earlier. It was kind of like just go ahead and do it. I bought the ticket, and even to the last minute, I was like, okay, if anything happens, I'm gonna cancel this. But I'm so glad I didn't, and I ended up just going and just drawing, and I loved it. And I went back to Europe twice. The first time.
Oh, yeah, he dropped.
Yeah,
he dropped.
Josh, we'll get Josh back in.
I'm calling him back right now. Just
We're going to call Josh back in.
Yeah.
So,
hello.
There we got him back. We got him.
I was boring, huh?
No, it wasn't us. It was a tech thing. Carry on.
So it's called Sketch the World, what I do. And my ultimate goal would to be try to visit as many places as possible. Would I ever be able to sketch the entire world? I don't know if that's possible, for me, but I would love to do that. But, I was in Europe. I went to, Berlin, Paris, Spain, and...
Oh, no.
No. There he goes again.
Sketch the World. I mean, you're all over the bloody place. I mean, what is that? You pick up work along the way, too, right? It's like, somebody wants a mural done, and you do it while you're there.
Well, I do freelance normally, but that's what I plan is when I'm doing Sketch the World is to keep an income coming, so that way I can constantly travel and not have to worry too much about, how I'm going to eat and where I'm going to sleep, that type of thing, because there's something to do. Like, I'll sell a drawing that I've done. Like, I'll be on the street sketching and drawing, and then someone will come up and be like, oh, hey, I like that drawing, and we'll end up talking.
Oh, no!
Oh, no.
Okay.
We're talking about with Josh, and he was traveling and stuff, and we're having issues with Josh and dropping out of the call. And,
the entire break, Josh was stable. And I'm going to use the line, he told us the most marvelous story, you had to be there. No.
It was hilarious.
Yeah, that's right.
I can't remember it now, though.
No, neither can I. But we were talking about you traveling around the world and about your drawings. And
yeah, working along the way, commissioning pieces. I mean, it must be a great feeling to know when you leave, one of these communities, hey, I'm leaving a piece of me behind.
Totally. Yeah, that is a good feeling, but not as good as being like, okay, I know where I can buy lunch today. Sometimes I'll look back on my stuff and I'll think, oh yeah, that's right, I sold a piece to that person here in Amsterdam, or someone in Japan has my artwork. That's so cool. So yeah, that's definitely a good feeling though.
Yes.
Yeah,
well,
your pieces are so cool too. Is this true or about no sketchbooks allowed on this? What is that, Alki Beach?
That is actually a very funny story. Okay, so I'll tell you the story on this one. I'm in Seattle on Alki Beach, and I'm just sitting there sketching, drawing, and I come upon this sign, and I take a photo of it. It says, I believe the original sign says, like, no skateboards allowed or something. And so I'm just having fun Photoshop, and I Photoshopped the no sketchbooks allowed just for fun.
I'm thinking this can't be real.
Here's the thing. I end up posting that photo to Facebook, like at 2 a.m., and I go to sleep, and I'm just like, okay, I'll have a couple friends comment on it. I wake up the next morning, it's almost gone viral. Like, there's been 56 shares. People are trying to organize this whole event at the beach where they're going to bring their sketchbooks and sketch in a protest. It was crazy. Like, that was probably my only real thing of going viral. But that was funny. I eventually had to like put the fire out that I created and let everyone know. No, it was just a joke.
There you go, Kim. Our interview, some highlights from Josh's interview there.
He's a funny guy. He really is. Tell everybody it's just a joke. Make everybody calm down, or they're going to storm the beach, Josh. They're going to storm the beach.
And yeah, it was. That must be quite the journey that he did, traveling around, doing those art pieces for people.
Yeah.
And that paying his way as he went along.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. What an exciting time that he must have doing this. Sketch the World. I mean, that's amazing. You're sketching your way across the planet, across Europe. It's knowing that you're leaving a piece of you behind every place that you go must be just an amazing feeling.
Yes, it is. I think it would be too. I have to agree with you. Alrighty, there's Josh. Next on my list, just so you know, we're gonna play our interview with Chris Enns.
Oh, Chris. Oh, okay. All right. I thought it was Justin. My bad.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Just late. You didn't get that last minute memo. But I'll let you know. So this is one that's been that's not on your list there, or off your list or whatever, out of sync. And with Chris, we get to hear his story. basically moving because he lived here in Ontario, right? And then he moved to Nova Scotia.
Yep, he did.
Yeah. So we're
right.
going to hear about that, opening the dispensary, the challenge of that, plus more. Like, really, he's,
a whole lot more.
yeah. There's, all of these interviews. It's so hard to squeeze everything in, and I encourage everybody. If you're hearing something that you really like, then go to paceradioshow.com, and these interviews are all there. They're all there in the archives.
Yeah, in full. Absolutely. These are just clips just to give you a taste of a few of the great people that we've talked to over this past year.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we're going to hear from Crescens. Here we go.
You tell us a bit about background, patient story, if you will, or what drew you to the cannabis business and got you into doing this?
Sure. Well, I actually made the leap from Ontario to Nova Scotia to go to Dalhousie University because their medical school was supposedly, among one of the top ones in the country. And since I was a little kid, going to medical school had been the ultimate goal. So I headed out here to Nova Scotia, and it was a gradual process, but more towards especially the second part of my final year in university, I really started to become disenchanted with my education. I had really started to look at a lot of the medical journals around cannabinoids and all different health situations, but specifically with respect to cannabinoids and cancer. And what originally got me on that train was the old YouTube video from Rick Simpson there, Run from the Cure. And I was absolutely determined, where I was studying immunology in university at the time, to get into the medical journals and prove this Rick Simpson guy to be a bunch of BS. I was certain he must be a snake oil salesman. So, despite the fact that I enjoyed cannabis, there was no way in heck that this thing's helping with cancer. I mean, sure, maybe some symptom management, but this isn't attacking cancer cells. Come on. And so I started diving into the medical journals that were the same journals we're using in class. And sure enough, there's all kinds of studies that were really backing up what Rick was saying. Maybe not in a comprehensive, trials of multiple patients, double blind at that time, but the pathways in which cannabinoids were working their magic on cancer cells were really starting to be understood. And there was a lot of mice models already that had clearly happened showing the benefit of cannabinoids in cancer. And so I was determined to try to, share this data with my professors and ultimately ask the question, why has the cannabinoid receptor system been completely left out of every textbook in a 4-year education in immunology? And it was really a struggle to have any meaningful dialogues, and combined with some other issues at the time, I ended up in my very last week of university just deciding not to go to my final set of exams. And I dropped out, determined that I was going to figure out something to do with cannabis. That's for sure. Something to do with helping medical patients, whether that meant growing, whether that meant starting a dispensary. I'd already started trying to convince my roommates to form a not-for-profit society with me to open one of these compassion clubs that I was hearing about out in BC, Ted Smith and Dana Larson specifically. They were just laughing at me when I'd sign that paperwork. You're nuts. And it was ultimately in meeting my ex-wife and my business partner, Sherry Reeve, Jess James, who really inspired me to take that step further and actually open the store. Together at first we opened a not-for-profit society where there was a few other members that initially formed the board, and for about a year and a half we had a storefront. It was the first storefront in Atlantic Canada, I believe, that was specifically serving medically licensed patients, and that started up in 2012 after a few years of running it kind of a little bit more disorganized, but as like a delivery service on and off, and really focused more on the activism side of things. And then formally in 2012 we actually opened the first storefront in a little small community called Porters Lake. It was about a half hour outside of Halifax. But it was clear from day one that the demand for the service was enormous. There was people driving from all over Nova Scotia, whether it be Cape Breton and even New Brunswick. We would have customers show up having said that they just made the drive, and so that was inspiring. It really became necessary to open the storefront because we had just become overwhelmed with what was going on around us, and the demand was so great. Really, there was no other option. But really, before we even opened the storefront, and to step back a minute, when those studies in university kind of affirmed what Rick Simpson was saying, and what some of his patients that were in that movie, who I actually had the chance to meet firsthand when he brought them up to Dalhousie and did a talk right at the university. I had a chance to dialogue with them, and I understood that these were real people that had real experiences, and I was determined to perhaps replicate that experience and to develop some of these stories firsthand. So we started producing cannabis under Health Canada licenses for Jess and for myself, and I guess it wasn't for myself at first. It was for two patients that I became licensed to grow for. And then we ultimately used the excess production from that to make oils that we were able to provide free of charge to cancer patients.
And you still do that, correct? You still provide oils for cancer patients.
Yeah, that's really been the mission objective from day one, is that we're able to provide the cannabis oil free of charge to any cancer patient that really reaches out to us and makes that request.
Amazing.
I think the point of the whole point of doing that is that I strongly believe that there's a dose-dependent relationship between how much cannabis oil one is able to consume and get their blood concentration of THC and CBD and all those other great cannabinoids up, and the rate at which it seems to put the brakes on a lot of tumors, and in some situations start to knock them back like peeling the layers of an onion away. It's certainly not some cure-all that works for every individual, and there was an individual named John Cook that had really, I think, one of the first dispensaries in Nova Scotia. He operated a delivery service called the Cannabis Buyers Club of Canada, the East Coast division, and he was a really big inspiration for me. And I used to get in debates with him early on where I had just talked to Rick, and I was convinced that cannabis was an absolute cure-all, and anyone that consumed that gram a day for 60 days was definitely going to get cured of cancer, and anyone that told me otherwise, well, they were a bloody liar. And this was the position I would take with John, and John would kind of laugh at me and provide a more tempered response. And
there you go, Kim. The beginning of our interview with Chris, and he wraps it all up in your first question, because a lot of
first question.
Yeah. If at the beginning of the show, I talked about how long it takes sometimes to put these clips together. I got to tell you, Chris's was the opposite. His was lickety split, quick and easy, because he answered that question with so much of his history. Everybody knows. A lot of people know about Pharmacist, but there's probably a lot of people who don't know that he went to Dalhousie University. Was and all those things around that as well. So it was
He's at a medical school,
Yeah, exactly.
Medical school and everything else. We had joint host Cindy Howell joined us with that night as well. That's who it was that chimed in with her comments through that clip we played there. We had Cindy in because, of course, she's a fellow Nova Scotian, and we thought it would be nice to have the Nova Scotia connection on the show. But I did have ulterior motives that night as
well. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Cindy was learning something that night, wasn't she?
Yeah. I thought, it'd be really nice if I have to have a night off, to have somebody sitting in the joint host chair that's done this before. And So I asked Cindy to join us.
Yeah, that was all with your move. Yeah. Your move. So, yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. So yeah, this is.
And from that one.
Yeah, I think I'm really myself. I'm really enjoying listening to all our past guests and reminiscing. This is I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, you have to do. Can we do 2 years? Can we do one like every 6 months? And then that way, we can get more people in, right?
I don't know, the half year in review.
Maybe. A look back at the last 6 months.
Half year in review.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe, eh?
Yeah, maybe. Okay. Up next, we got Sarah Sunday from the Karma Cup.
From the Karma Cup, my favorite event of all time. Love talking to this lady, that's for sure.
Yes, and talking about problems yet again, and out of nowhere, I believe this was the night of the hurricane, isn't it not?
Yeah, we had a really big storm. It was like tornado winds came through here and like took a lot of stuff out. We survived it, but I did get knocked off my system, and I wound up having to run to the window and use my phone and come back, and then got my computer booted back up, so ran back to the computer again. But that's the thing, when you're live, you do what you got to do, and you get back on the air.
Yeah. Well, we had to do that tonight. So
that's it. You do what you got to do.
Do what you got to do. We got her. So yes. So yeah, it was. So we're gonna pick up here, where Sarah talks about how happy that she is for you to come back. Because of how much that you improved the conversation. There you go.
Weather, because I have one of those satellite. I know how it is.
Yeah, and we just spoke about weather and how you at the beginning of the show, how dealing with the storms and stuff, and now here you are, you're live, and it's taking you down. So it's good to see you back.
Thank God we've got Kim back, because you're a better talker than either one of us. So you're verbose.
Sarah and I are going, well, let's keep going. Cross the fingers. Good luck.
Exactly. I'm like, I told Al, better talk slow.
So Sarah was just going through a bit of the history of the Cup. Got started in 2014, and then she moved on to the festivals. And the festivals, I know myself, I've always enjoyed them. And whether it was at the the Globe Marijuana March, they had the festival thing going on there. It didn't have a cup or anything, but it was just a festival. Everybody was around. There was music. There was vendors. And the Karma Cup, when you add the festival, it brought, it was the same idea. And it was always a good feeling being there.
Yeah. I was really thrilled when I think the biggest change for me over the years was when you switched it and we moved it out of October and into September. That was one of the best changes that you could have made, because it was fucking cold that one year, man.
Well, that year I wasn't going to do a festival originally when I booked the date. Originally, it was just going to be the private party thing. And then I got it in my mind that I wanted to do the festival. And I already had the date locked and loaded. And it's a little bit different than a normal event where you might just push the date or something. Because of the entries, like I'm getting the entries on a certain date and I need to give out an awards at a ceremony, you know what I mean? It all sort of has to line up together. So it was what it was. We got lucky that year, actually. I remember the anxiety I had every single day about whether it was going to be cold or not was phenomenal. And somehow we got lucky. And I remember like a really long time ago going to this rave at the docks area, and it was an October rave or something, and they lost their venue, and they had huge tents, and it was actually unseasonably warm that year. And I just remember thinking, please God, make it warm, make it like that year, where it was like where we weren't like freezing our asses off.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
it wasn't too bad. It was
when the
cool.
sun's
It was
out,
a
it
bit
was good.
chilly. I had my phone on. Yeah. When the
Yeah.
sun was out, it was all right. During the day, it was all right. And then as that sun started going down, we started approaching
rough.
5 and 6 o'clock, and it's like, oh fuck, it's getting cold.
Even in September, it's like that. It
Everybody's
gets like that. You know what I mean? Like, who wants to be
Yes.
out at 9 o'clock and with a t-shirt on in September? It's not.
Yeah.
You know.
And it
Yeah, moving
really.
into September,
But even August, you like look at now, you just be friggin' roasting out there. Fuck, you wouldn't even need a friggin' lighter to light your doobie. Just get a magnifying glass out and use the sun.
Probably have a lot of heat stroke victims.
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes this is too hot. So I mean, you've got to really try and pick the date and then just cross your fingers, right? But second week usually, second
It's September.
of September is pretty good. It's
Yeah.
a pretty
usually
good
not bad.
time of year.
I think last year
Yeah.
it rained when we couldn't have the festival. I think it rained, so I'm hoping that'll be that it only rains on years that I can't actually throw it. So hopefully, and then we don't. You know what I mean? You get because eventually you got to get some kind of weather, like how it goes, right? So
Yes.
it would be best if that happens. If the fates bring the weather when the government's being retarded and not letting me throw the festival.
I can see. Yeah, because late September, that's when you start getting into the more rainy season.
Oof. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Believe me, I definitely thought about the date quite a bit, like that.
Yeah, for sure. I want to get into Karma this year and talk about the judges kit this year. That's available, some of the categories. And I noticed a brand new question in the judges book. So we're going to get into that and some new swag that's in there. There's lots that I want to talk about in this year's. We're at the bottom of the hour, and I know that Al's got to pay bills, man. So that'll give me a chance to reboot my.
Well, I'm going to update you, Kim. While you were gone, we went for a commercial break. Yes, we did. So you can go right ahead. Yeah, go right.
I'm gonna read my computer. Okay. Well, I'm gonna ask Sarah a question, and I'm gonna take my phone with me while I'm rebooting my computer.
Sure.
So Sarah, the one thing that I noticed today, I noticed something new every day in this cup. The one thing I noticed today was the torch. The torch is brand new. It's bigger, it's better, and it's more powerful.
Yeah, I got a different torch supplier this time. The last one, they annoyed me. Anyway, we won't talk about that torch supplier. But yes, and we have new graphics and designs every year too. So yeah, it's a new torch. It's a good torch.
Brand new. I like torch. It's very powerful, very, very powerful indeed. I turned it on. And I was like, oh, look at this. This is nice, for sure. And in the judge's book, I like the new question, the final question. You didn't ask this before, and I think it's a really good one. One of the things we judge now is, would you buy it? That is a very cool question to ask.
Yeah, I figured if they wouldn't actually buy it, then that's probably like really important information. As well as the more criteria I have, the more input I'm able to give to the competitors, which I think is valuable. And I think that's probably the most valuable piece of information there, really. Like, would your potential customer actually put money down for it, right? I was actually heartened this year when we were doing the intake for the entries. One of the competitors that has entered a few times for Bud but not won anything I was talking to him about his entry, and I remembered some of the scoring because I'd seen the bud when it came in, but I hadn't smoked it, so I had no idea how it performed, but it certainly looked rather good. And he told me that he used the scores from the previous years because he'd not done as well on ash, on burn, on that category. And so I said, well, does it burn? Have you improved? And he said he used the previous scores to improve this year. And he said he felt the scores from the judges were actually very accurate. When his team sat down and really thought about it, they concurred with the judges and that they were able to use that information to improve their performance this year. And I really think it worked because the weed they entered was dynamite. It was so good. It was so nice looking.
Very cool. Very cool. And I think that's important. And people should realize that, as judges, I know for myself and for most of the other judges that I talk to, we take this kind of shit seriously. It's not just, everybody smoke a joint and write whatever. No, we sit down and we look, and I plan shit out. It's like, okay, I can do.
There you go, Kim. Our interview with Sarah and the Karma Cup.
Did I lose you?
No, I'm here. Oh, I'm here.
Hello.
I'm here. There. Hello.
Right. Give me a heart attack.
Actually, yes. I had myself muted. You couldn't hear me on one end, but the listeners could hear me because I could see it.
Oh,
yeah. But I understand where you got the heart attack from.
Technical difficulties just all over the place.
Yeah, there it was again during Sarah's show. We were talking about the thing. Like tonight, we played the commercial early, just like we had to do with the interview with Sarah because of a problem. Yeah. So.
This time I knew about it though.
yeah. This time you did. Yeah. So yeah, that was good. It's the Karma Cup. It's it's been around for many years and it's evolved and I don't know what's going to happen going forward, but you can learn more about it. And I'm not sure what all how far forward Sarah was talking about during that interview, but I know that year there was no festival. Well, the cup still went on, right?
That was this year. Yeah, that was this year. And I mean, that's the year Cindy came in from Nova Scotia, and we stayed in Airbnb with 5 other women or 4 other women. There were 6 of us total.
That's a taxi weekend, right?
That's the taxi weekend. It is. Yes. We were celebrating for Karma, even though there was no event. We had an event in our Airbnb, so we're good.
That's right. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
All right, and I'm sure you're looking forward to next year's then.
Yes, I am. With or without an event, I still party for Karma. I still celebrate for Karma.
Yeah.
It's my favorite event. I love Sarah Sunday. I think she's just awesome. She's a take no bullshit kind of lady that puts on one hell of an event. And she's my kind of woman. I like her a lot, and I love the event.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. I know I've always enjoyed it over the years, and she's we get in there as media and we go around and be able to talk to all the vendors and let everybody know what's going on and hey, spread the word, right? So if this is going on at this place, maybe we could have another one. No,
absolutely.
Yeah, we got 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 5 more. 5 more to go here. Did you want to go for a break or did you want to just keep going plugging away?
You want to throw a second? Well, we got to throw a second commercial break in, so we can throw that in there now if you want, and then we can come back with our final 5.
Yeah, okay, all right, we'll do that. So we'll go for our break. All right. Well, you're listening to the Pace Radio Show's Year in Review. We are live right here at paceradio.net. You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
The Pace Radio Network is the place to be for all your information from the world of psychedelics, because we are pleased to bring our listeners 2 shows focusing on psychedelic therapy in the world of natural medicine. First up, we have Open Your Eye, which airs on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of each month. Open Your Eye is a 90-minute video podcast with Kim Cooper and Cindy Howell interviewing patients and professionals in the space. Patient stories, facilitators, lawyers, and others discuss their journeys and endeavors involving psychedelic medicine. But they're not done, because Kim and Cindy are back on alternate Tuesdays at 7 p.m. with Psychedelic Reporters as they bring along the show's mascot, Bufo, aka the Colorado Mud Toad, who is scouring the news wires for all the latest in psychedelic news. He then passes it on to Kim and Cindy to cover in this 60-minute video news podcast. So tune in every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern for Psychedelic Tuesdays right here on the Pace Radio Network, found at paceradio.net.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
What do you find at paceradio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
A doctor's job is to relieve your pains. And when it comes to growing cannabis, the biggest pain is trimming. Let Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions take the pain away. Whether you're a home grower or a commercial operation, we have the cure. From 4 plants to 400 plants, garden size doesn't matter. Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions comes to you with years of experience and professional discreet service. It's simple. We trim your weed and we do a damn good job. Visit drbuckcts.com to book your trimming.
CP operates a medicinal cannabis signing clinic. If you want to grow your own medicinal cannabis and are located anywhere in Canada, then I'd like to suggest that you give them a call. They can be reached at 1-613-967-9888. That's 1-613-967-9888, and grow on with CP.
Growing your own vegetables, flowers, or even medicinal plants can be a challenge without the right equipment and proper know-how. At BMA Hydroponics, not only are they your urban horticultural experts and suppliers, but their staff holds the customer's needs paramount to making a sale. Family-owned with decades of experience and knowledge, they offer free advice in person, by phone, or email. BMA Hydroponics wants to ensure you have the advice you need, which is why you'll find tips and tricks on different ways to grow, like wick, ebb and flow, drip, or aeroponics system, as well as other helpful links at bmahydroponics.com. If you can't find what you're looking for, just let them know, and they'll do everything they can to get what you're looking for. At BMA Hydroponics, each staff member also possesses a federal exemptee MMAR license, making their strong suit empathy, experience, and dedication to their customers. Because when you know how to grow, you'll have results that make you proud. BMA Hydroponics in Belleville, Ontario. Visit bmahydroponics.com.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net. Hey, hello and welcome back. We are the Pace Radio Show and we are live here at paceradio.net. Tonight in the program, Kim and I are talking about, and you're hearing about, some of the guests that we've had over the last year as we're doing a year in review, eh, Kim?
Yep, year in review. It was really hard to get this, and I mean, you can see the time. We're way over. We've still got 5 guests that we want to highlight, and we got it whittled down to 12, and that was difficult. We've had some fantastic people on. There are so many more I want to mention, and again, we've got to let you know, head on over to the Pace Radio Network website, and all the shows are available in full on the website from the last year and before that.
Yes. And talking about mentioning, I just mentioned a couple of guests that Julie had on the show during the year. Chris Russo, he was a filmmaker. Tyler Blake of the Emerald Cup. Tim Blake is her father. He's also been a past guest on the show. So we got to talk about the Emerald Cup, which has just been happening, I believe. As well as Nina Parks. Yep. She was involved in the Gift of Doja. So there's 3 of them. I got a couple others here to just mention offhand. A fellow by the name of Chip Moore. He was with 4 and 20 Blackbirds, as well as Vivian McPeak of the Seattle Hemp Fest. Seattle Hemp
All
Fest.
Very cool.
Yeah, Emerald Cup, very big events that go on in the U.S. But Julie's no longer with us. She's concentrating on Skunk Magazine, and I see her post, and things are looking really good. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And up next, we're going to talk about Justin Loizos from Justin Compassion and so much more. What a fabulous young man. I mean, he's fighting the good fight, for his debilitating illness, MS. And he's literally out there pounding the pavement, standing in the middle of streets like Young and Bloor and stopping traffic and opening compassion clubs and, so much more. Frontlines, big time.
Big time. And I always bring this up. It's because of Justin is why I was in Ottawa to see the historic case for the Supreme Court of Canada. Yeah. Thank you, Justin. I always bring that up. All right, so what we're going to hear about here is we're going to get caught up what's going on with Justin, as well as we have medical discussion that sort of how medical cannabis leads into legalization, how it all goes together, as well as the closing of the Just Compassion Center. As you mentioned, sessions in the streets, and the future. You know what the future holds. So, here we go. We're going to hear from Justin. Loizos.
Wow, thank you for having me, and thanks for the nice introduction, Al, Kim. It's nice to be on. Thank you very much.
Hey, we appreciate you coming on the show and talking to our listeners and getting caught up. Like we've said to other guests, we don't see each other at events anymore. So this is our opportunity in order to get caught up, and things like that.
With the even the ability to grow 4 plants, where did that come from? That came from the attempt to remove the gardens from all patients, saying, you know what, we have this new system coming in. It's going to be a regulated system with commercial grows, and it's going to supply the whole country. So. There was a gentleman, Jason Wilcox, and a group of supporters kind of stepped up, put the kind of, wrench in that operation. And, after that, they had the ACMPR before that, right, which really opened up for all patients. Like a lot of those patients who were looking in, it looked like no one was going to be able to take part. So we were all almost going to be outside looking in, pushed outside. But then in a miraculous effort, all patients were welcomed in and able to grow. So moving forward, now it sort of transitioned in legalization, and other people have different perspectives on this specifically. But it was nice to see the whole country kind of follow suit. With legalization and the 4 plants, I know that. If even because not everybody can grow, even if they legally can, it just maybe some of your household it does for whatever reason it just doesn't work, right? XYZ.
Right.
But guess what your neighbor's up to, right? Or your friend across the street, and it's spreading, and then the community grows, and before you know it, if enough people kind of rally together, then we might be doing exactly what you said there, Kim, like having these farmers markets, and it might even start in prohibition, and then we'll kind of transition into just slowly chipping away at that legal side of because we do the same thing. They take place, but it's not legal yet, right? And I think the more just people who necessarily weren't the people taking part in these cannabis markets before, and then it'll be, like you said, just part of the farmers market that we go and get our tomatoes or what have you from, right? It'll be cool.
Yeah. Give us an overview. Who's Justin, and what have you been up to? It's too easy for us to just start talking to you because we've known you for so long.
It's just like so casual.
Exactly.
And it's beautiful. Like, to me, it's great. And especially like you mentioned, the COVID has kind of kept us apart, right? Everybody and communicating and so this is great. But
yes.
I'll get down to business here. Is what's interesting? I'll start with my business is actually closed, like officially. I've been spending the last few days. Today was a rest day, trying to play catch up. But I've been closing up my shop, and it's it's the end of a era for me, or at least like a kind of phase of my life. And it meant a lot to me and a lot of other patients. I really feel great about it, and I'm curious, still kind of wondering even of what's going to happen next. I did nothing but favors to myself, and I needed it. I really needed it.
Yeah.
And I've spent this whole time really working on myself, and it hasn't been easy. And hopefully, I'll see these dividends soon. And Claudia, right? Yeah. I was so excited, and I opened up Just Compassion, and I had a great team. That was sort of how the session in the street started, sort of. Actually, there was I made a post, and it was from a 420, and I kind of said something. I don't remember exactly what I said, but Bill 178, which was an infringement on patients' rights for their access to their medicine, and it was forcing them outside, right? So I was like, I made a post, and it was a picture of me in the street, and it just looked like it already done it. And somehow it got written up, and then next thing you know, it was in the paper. It's like, that's what we're doing. We're protesting in the streets. Shit, who's gonna join me here? Young and bluer, boys, girls, let's go. and sometimes you just bite off, and it wasn't more than I could chew, but it was a great movement, and then it caught on, and I remember on the second one, like Vice was there, and they're filming it, and it was really interesting, and we had so much support. So I'm walking up. We have the corner where we're supposed to meet. And it says the northeast corner, Young and Bloor, right? Completely covered with police. It's all you can see. Just, oh yeah. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, right? So a little nervous, and honestly, I almost feel like I could have teetered the other way, like almost like I don't know. As I'm like kind of like using my walker to walk over with as much, like it wasn't the most valiant charge, but I get there, and now I have this clan of supporters who are just as invested as myself, who are just as passionate, if not more than myself. And it was just like, yeah, we're doing this. And
let's do this, baby.
and I remember the police officer, real nice guy. He comes over. He's like, "Who's in charge here?" And I'm looking around. I'm like nobody. Right? And he's like, okay, he goes, listen, it's okay. We're here to support you. You said it's only going to be 4 minutes and 20 seconds. We're timing it. We got your back. We just don't want to see anyone get injured here, right? And we said, wow, okay. So now it just was like, woo! It just went right around. And it was weird. It was so weird because we go in there and nobody in the intersection knew what was happening because it wasn't just a bunch of patients going into this intersection. It was patients and police, right?
Yeah.
So they're kind of like, what's happening here? And then we have the signs. So they're making sense of it, and we're starting yelling and running around and there, and everyone's moving, and okay, they're a protest, and they start honking and whatever. So it got a little hectic, but I think the police there, maybe they're not. I don't want to say anything too much about the police specifically right now, but in that specific incident, they had our back, which was nice. I'm just gonna maybe change the name later, but I'll just call it my own name. I'm not even trying to be like egotistical or anything, but I mean it's just like people know my name, and it's gonna be about MS and cannabis and everything and nice and cool things and whatever, like just casual, right? Because I want to heal, I want to walk, I want to feel better. Those are my main goals. Like I want to start doing hurdles, not be knocked over by these things. And the more people who I talk to, holistic healers, doctors, other patients who have had successes, the opposite, have overcome them. I want to just do better. I want to feel better. I want to heal. So as long as I can do that, I'm okay.
There you go, Kim. All right, part of our interview with Justin Louses. It's too bad about his compassion center. I never used his services. But I know from the stuff that I saw and know about his place, it was about patience and it was compassion.
It truly was. It truly was. We know both have mutual friends that have been there and that have used there.
Yeah.
And we've known Justin for many years at all of the events, and he's always been outspoken and just really, really good guy.
Yeah,
overall.
Exactly.
All about
the who's in charge here? Nobody.
I love that.
I gotta
nobody.
and sitting back here and listening to the interviews, when I'm laughing in the audio, quite often I'm laughing and chuckling back here and behind where people can't hear me. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right
I was laughing my ass off there. It's like that's hilarious. As I remember all of these clips are playing, and I'm listening and I'm remembering, and and it's like, oh, that was just hilarious. And speaking of hilarious,
That's
our next guy we got
Gary.
coming up. Mr. Pallister.
Sir,
Oh,
yes.
this one, when you have Gary on, it's always scary because you just don't know what he's gonna say.
Gee, I heard you say that before. Yes, that's right.
Oh, great guy. I love Gary. Gary and Kim are up next, and they, of course, were on for their documentary.
Yes, exactly, for the documentary. So, and Kim joins them here, and so they talk about the beginning of Mend and meeting Rob. That's Gary's talking about that, and Kim talks about Mend and telling the story for the documentary. Once again, this is I think we need like a marathon show, Kim. Really. To get everything in here. But we got some clips, and here we go. All right. At this time, I welcome people I said have come together in order to share the story of a group of people. We'd like to welcome patient actionist, and that's Gary Pallister, and documentary producer and director Kim Slutarsky to the Pace Radio Show. Hello, guys. How you doing?
Real good. Great to be here. Thanks for having us.
Hey, we're
very well, Al. Thank you, Kim.
Giddily excited about tonight's show, and everybody I talk to, it's like, they're like, who do you have on? And I say, I got Gary on this week. Oh, it's gonna be so cool. You never know what Gary's gonna say.
You betcha.
And that's why there's a documentary.
How did you meet Rob? Tell us about that.
Many years ago, Rob was in the construction business like myself. I'm a heavy equipment operator with dump trucks. Rob is like a supervisor. So we ended up working at the tank range together. He was looking after a big site up there. Anyways, you know, it's a small town, small area. Back in the day, I tend to educate myself with a lot of whiskey and beer. And when Rob would come to the parties, half the bottle gone, he thought it was time to go. The show was about to begin. We worked together, and then we kind of separated and went our own way for a few years. And when I come back, I was kind of sober, had changed my ways, had found out that cannabis was why I was so healthy and felt great and everything. What Rob found then was that he just kept making it, and people were coming over, and he kept giving it away. And before you knew it, the ones he was giving it to, they were giving it to a couple of people, and they would come back. Well, I'm sorry, Rob. I kind of give it. Well, that's okay. I got some more here, and it's snowballed into the most wonderful. It's almost. I can't believe that just some old loudmouth turning on a really cool dude, and this happened. Because we've helped a lot of people. He's gone through tons of tinctures, and I've gone through about 7 or 8 vehicles traveling, and the word has been spread. Now Kim's been wonderful and you know, really all I am, I'm just a guy that kind of stood up because I figured once the police had busted me a couple of times, everybody got the wrong idea really what I was into. And so we stood up and started telling people, and then the more people come on, and we kept teaching everybody. There's hundreds now that we've taught how to make tinctures, how to infuse coconut oil. And you can put that coconut oil anywhere you want, on your body, in your body. You can cook with Betty Crocker. I sound like a snake oil salesman, but this stuff just works. Yep, it's teamwork. It's all the people, the ripple effect of one reaching and teaching another. And like our age group starts from about 55 through to 97, 98. And, you know, like, I mean, not, I practiced and experimented for about 42 years by the time Rob and I got together. So I was pretty well versed in this. And there's nothing that we make that we sample and check ourselves, because we got to know exactly what it is that people are getting from us.
In their town meeting halls, in their libraries, not in the science rooms and not in the boardrooms. This is where it's happening.
Yeah, and like you said, well, we started earlier in the show saying of some of the successes and mostly of the grand failures of the legalization of cannabis, and how it's just been shocking and appalling to me how the medical patients have really suffered. You know, and I pitched this documentary as a series and a number of variations. I was even shocked, you know, because I'm really sharing incredible true stories, heartwarming relationships, people overcoming the odds, people being sent home with 2 weeks to live, and then they cure themselves of stage 4 colon cancer. You know, those are stories worth telling, but I haven't found it yet, though I'm still holding out a faith that some of the broadcasters and Netflix that I'll be soon approaching will follow in. But ultimately, these are the stories we need to hear, not who gets the latest LP, this or that, or who's lost money or won money. These are the real human stories to humanize and continue the destigmatization of this most essential dietary supplement and healing plant on the planet, and right all the wrongs that have been done in terms of misinformation. And I find no better way that touches the heart than just having people tell their story. And so that's what I've tried to achieve with Mend, and show, you know, the layers of stories. And part of Mend, besides what Rob and Gary do to help others, it really shows a very real and special relationship of two men who've been there to support each other and taken that support and done something very special with it. And so, you know, I tip my hat to Rob and Gary for inspiring me and letting me had the privilege of telling their story.
There you go. There you go.
There you go.
The very beginning of Mend, how Rob and Gary got together and what it became. And the movie is now released, and people can watch it. Yeah.
Absolutely, and great documentary. Kim does a fantastic job with these docs. Of course, we've had him on in the past for the release of Jack's Garage.
Yes.
Kim Zaltarski, director. His heart and soul is into this. This is medicine for him as well. So he understands the journey from his perspective, and he wants to get more patient stories out there. And of course, Rob Mayhe and Senior and teamed up with Gary, and that's one hell of a story.
Yeah, it is. It is. And, they've helped so many people, and they help them not only with the tinctures. They talk about giving all these tinctures away, but they share the knowledge, and being able to share they share that knowledge. It's helping patients help themselves so they can treat themselves, and it just gets contagious and it just spreads.
Each one teach one.
That's right. Exactly. All right. From there, up next, we got the Funny Boys.
Yeah.
This is gonna hurt.
It's gonna hurt you, Al. It's gonna hurt you for sure. The comedians are in the house, and man, they were on cue for sure.
Big time. I would say it was the equivalent to being sitting at the front up near the stage and doing something, just something to, hey, you, to put a spotlight on you, right? And it's, when I've been to them in Toronto, I try not to sit close. I prefer to sit back away from the stage, right? And
sit far away.
I couldn't.
You had your chin on the stage for this.
Oh yeah, big time. Oh yes. And but it was a lot of fun. It was just laughter. From front to back, from the beginning to the end of the show, it was great. Probably the only disappointment is that they couldn't stay for the whole broadcast because they had another show. They had to do the regular show, right? Because it's the late night sesh. They're on KGL TV. And Wednesday, they're going on live here in like 3 minutes. Like we're live right now, and there you go, 2 minutes. 2 minutes. My phone just told me it was 9:58 here. So there you go. Yeah. They're just about to go live right now. And
let's listen to the boys.
Just listen to the boys. All right, here we go.
Just from getting ready for the show, we had some juggles. That was good. All right, so at this time, we'd like to welcome our guests, the makers of laughter. That's Reese Turner, Chris Venito, Walter Lying, and Vance Michael of the KGL TV broadcast Late Night Sesh to the Pace Radio Show. Welcome, guys. How you doing?
I was better before you tried to pronounce my name.
I'm never not calling Walter Lying. I am
Walter
calling Walter Lying and Michael.
And you botched 3 out of the 4 names.
I'll botch him again too.
I like this. It's not as bad as my intro.
I'm so sorry for all of us already. I apologize for our behavior.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry for botching your names.
Please don't speak to me.
Hey, you got my name perfect. You got Chris's name perfect.
You made Chris's name sound like a cleaning product. I'm pretty sure you called him Benito, and it's like.
Let's go to Chris. Chris, how badly did we slaughter your name?
very respectfully, I butchered your entire career when you were on our show. Like your whole life, I butchered it A to Z. So for me to come on here and get pissy about Chris Benito, listen, that'd be a lot for me to do. So I have no problem. I will say Walter Lying and Vance Michael is some of the greatest shit I've ever heard in my life. And I will forever remember this day.
Now, here's the thing. My last name has 4 letters in it.
They're confusing letters.
4 letters. But I've heard every version of my last name growing up, especially living in, not a extremely Anglophone milieu over here. So I've gotten Lung, I've gotten Lang, I've gotten Lynx, I've gotten Linge, I've gotten Lynch. All those names, and I have gotten Lying because people can't deal with the fact that it's L-Y-N-G. That's it. So some people will put in L-Y-I-N-G, but no, it's not. It's just L-Y-N-G.
Ling.
Ling. It probably shouldn't be pronounced like that. But that's the only way I've ever heard my family pronounce it, so that's what it is.
Linged. Okay.
All right.
Linged, yeah, and I'm not Asian.
All right.
All right.
We'll see how I do when we come to the commercial break.
Yeah. The last but certainly not least, we've got Van.
You know what I mean? But yeah, you call me Vance Michaels, I'm all right with it because my name is Vance Michelle, and when you said Vance Michaels, you know what I'm saying, I felt diplomatic. So, and that's probably the effect that we got.
All right. Boy, did I ever mess everybody up tonight.
You messed it up good, and you had to pick the perfect show with a bunch of comedians, Al.
Yeah, I know, eh?
How the hell did you guys come up with this, Reese?
I wanted to talk to my friends. It started during all this COVID stuff, and I ended up moving back to Toronto. But I missed talking to my buddies, so I wanted to kind of do something that we could all do together on the internet. You know what I mean? So we started doing this. Started interviewing some people. I was doing something like this by myself, and I was like, nah, I want to do it with my buddies. But it was fun. Honestly, the very first episode with Walter, I can't remember what his name was that time. I'm sure it was something colorful. But it was a blast.
What? That's not the real story. He bullied us, Kim. Yeah,
shut up, man. I swear to God, I told you shut the fuck up. I gave you a part on the cooking segment.
He wasn't gonna let our parents go. He yelled for ransom. He didn't let him go, man.
Oh my God!
I'm telling you.
The only guy. Pull him from the show. Pull him out.
Another talk's over.
I gotta jump in here and let you know it's break time. It's time for us to take a commercial.
Okay.
All right, and another opportunity. It's another opportunity for me to slaughter your names.
Well, let's try it again.
All right, here we go. Here we go. Break time, off we go. When we return, Kim and I will continue our talk with our guests, Reese Turner, Chris Vendito, Walter Ling, and Vance Michelle of the Late Night Session.
Amazing.
All right, that's good. Tonight on the show we have 4 guests, and let's see how I make out with the names this time. First, we got Bernard Reese, we got Chris Benito, Walter Ling, Vance Michelle of the Late Night Show on KGL TV. Plus, we joined us with Kim Kiefer and Reese.
Benito.
I love that.
You know what's funny? What's funny about that is that the Reese one was intentional, but he totally botched mine.
Yeah,
he did the Reese one as a bit, but then also botched mine.
Vendito.
Oh, that's the best. You can't even write that.
No, I know.
Oh, man. Vendito. You pronounce your name like it was an aperitif at the wedding.
Hey, people pronounce mine Graham. Just so you know.
That's the same. Yeah.
I know how you know. I know how you feel, man.
I hear you.
There you go, Kim. Lots of laughs. My stomach's sore from listening to that again. Holy smokes.
I laughed all the way through it, listening to it again. Oh my God, those guys were funny. They had us in stitches that night. It's so good to laugh. Diverse bunch of boys, man, and yeah, they'll keep you howling all night.
Now they have it set up. Like you've been a guest on the show, but they have things set up like they have a sports. I'm missing the word out there, but a sports part, and they have
sports
segment. Yeah, there's the word. Recipes or food segment as well.
Yeah, and then they go to the cooking. They go to the cooking with the chef there and Chef Vance. But it's hilarious. It's pretty funny. The cooking segments are made up of stuff that bachelors can do. One night he turned a box of bow tie pasta into potato chips by cooking it and then deep frying it. And of course you infuse it. So he put in infused oil on top and infused butter, and he put some salts, infused salts that he had on top. And he's made several things up. He made a pretty cool one that I tried, and it was an apple recipe where you just put apples in this little thing and then you bake it. And it's a baked apple recipe, and you use infused butter, and it worked out pretty good. So nice. It's all stuff that an average bachelor would have in his cupboard or in his fridge, and he's going to turn that into munchies for you.
Oh, good stuff. Good. There you go. Good to know.
Yeah.
All right. From Lots of Laughters, our next guest here was dealing with something very serious, and it's a wild ride, really, is what it is, and it's in our next
really wild.
Yes, and that's in our next guest that we're going to highlight here, and that's Ross, Rebuelli. Oh, hang on here. I'll get it. I'm messing up names, but this is something I do. It's
you were doing so good. By the end of the show, when we had him on, you finally got it.
Yeah. It's like Fatty. He told me. Remember with McFatty, Rebuelli. Sorry, Ross.
Rebuelli.
Yeah, but there you go. So Ross in this segment, he's going to tell us about his Olympic experience. From 30 some odd years ago. It's to hear it directly from him, even it was that back then. Even hearing it now, you're going, holy fuck, like really? So here we go. We're here from Ross.
When you took that hill like you owned it, I mean, I watched it. I was in front of my TV set when you were in Nagano, Japan, running the snow hill for the gold. And yeah, you took that hill like you owned it. We were just cheering and carrying on, and we knew that was a gold medal win. And of course, you won the gold. But then the testing. Tell us about that day, Ross.
Yeah, well, you nailed it, Kim. It was an epic day in Japan, as days are in Japan usually. And yeah, we had good weather in the morning and then bad weather in the afternoon. I came into Nagano feeling like on my game, like I never felt before. Like seriously, there's a big backstory to getting to Nagano and what happened. But to make a long story short, I ended up on equipment that was probably about 4 years old at the time. At least the board was, and different kinds, a change up of my equipment almost like within a month of the Olympics. And I was struggling with different custom boards that were being made for me. And I finally decided to look back into, what was my winningest board. And I actually still had it in my possession. So that was the board I chose. And I grabbed the training board that went with it. And I hit Nagano feeling like unreal. It was 8th place was the first run, right? And so, second run, it was almost like, I was a 10th of a second out, and it was do or die. So, I pretty much, left it all out on the course. And the second run was foggy, and there was weather delay. I just pointed it, as straight as possible, and ended up going pretty fast, a little bit too fast almost for the course. Was barely making the corners. If you look at the video of it, it looks all like not too bad, right? But a real panic run trying to get off one edge onto the other in time for the corners, and pretty much pulled it in right through the finish line, like just on the edge of disaster. And I took it, at the time I was still in 8th place, right? So still a bunch of guys had to come down who beat me on the first run, right? So I beat everybody that I beat, obviously, going into that second run, but then everybody else had to come down. So I got to watch about 8 more guys come down, and I only won by a couple hundredths of a second. And so on the one guy, I think it was either Uli or the other guy, Thomas Pruger. But when he came through the finish line, the numbers didn't change, right? Because it was at the hundredths were changing, but nothing else. There was like 7 or 8 other numbers that stayed the same. And the only thing I could tell was that my name was still at the top of the leaderboard so just an amazing, experience to be there, and for it to be a close race, and for me to come from behind and win it and all that, just really made it special. But then, Kim, the drug test right after in the finish line too, in the Army tent. And, but we didn't get the results back until the next day. So, I went through the award ceremonies, and we partied pretty good in the hotel that night. Nothing too crazy. Some athletes got a little bit crazy, but what else is new? So that was just par for the course. And the next morning, the coaches came in to my room, where there was a bunch of guys hanging around, and a few of my of the women that were on tour as well, that were all good friends, right? So they were told to leave, and told me to sit down, and I had that feeling, where there's something bad happening, and kind of lose the feeling in your legs, right? So that was kind of the beginning of, the next 25 years, I guess you could say.
How can they do this? It's not a performance enhancing drug. And it turned out that was so. They couldn't do that because of that, right?
Well, no, actually, it wasn't on the list.
It wasn't a banned substance. It was an illegal substance.
A banned substance on the list.
But not a banned
substance. And it had nothing to do with, and it didn't have anything to do with performance enhancing or not. And that would have been quite a stretch for the IOC to say it was performance enhancing. I would have to say, because they would probably argue otherwise. But the fact was, it wasn't on the list at all, which is a huge problem for them, that they did this to me. For a substance that wasn't on their list. I mean, that, they know what's on the list, right? They know what's on the list. Come on, that's like the whole Olympics is that list.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, absolutely. And it wasn't there. It's not listed. So how can they remove your medal?
No, they couldn't. But then I lost the first 2 appeals,
in front of the IOC committee of 35 nations and everything. And I did it 2 times, lost both of them. Story was the same, obviously. I mean, there was nothing to hide. I smoked weed. I stopped smoking weed so I could go to the Olympics. Big deal. My friends were smoking weed and it got me tested positive. And, secondhand smoke. And it was totally plausible. Like,
There you go, Kim. Heard it from the guy himself. What he went through when it come to that when they took his medal away from him, and the fact that it wasn't on the list.
It wasn't on the list at all, not at all. So how can they take their medal? I mean, that made me crazy when it happened. We were cheering him on. I followed Ross for a very long time. I followed that Olympics and his journey ever since. But as the old saying goes, everything happens for a reason. And that apparently wasn't his path. But he is on an excellent path now, and Ross's Gold is he's got some great plans. So I look forward to the future for him.
Yes, exactly. Now, one thing that I didn't know going into this interview with Ross was the fact that because of his positive test, he was put in jail. He was in Japanese because of his. I said what?
He didn't have any cannabis on him.
No cannabis on him
at all.
Nothing.
But because it tested positive in his system, he turned himself into the police station. That's what he was advised to do, and that's what he did. And he was put in jail. There was charges pending against him for just testing positive.
Yeah, like what the? It was a WTF moment for me. I know during that interview. So
yeah.
All right, Kim.
Crazy.
Well, just so you know, and we are down to our last guest for tonight.
Yeah.
And yes. And this one is pardon me?
One more. And that's a good
more.
One.
That's right, yes. We're heading to Jamaica. This is a show that is an international show with a Canadian connection. And it was good to touch base, get caught up again, as we've a couple of times you've heard during tonight's broadcast. I'm gonna get caught up with Teresa, as well as First Man here, Teresa Kozak, and First Man from in Jamaica. They're in Jamaica, and we're going to from them we're going to hear about the crickets. Don't forget the crickets.
5.5 minutes. Yeah, the crickets.
Yeah, the crickets. That's right. Yeah. Teresa's advocacy story. Firstman talks about Recreate and what Recreate is. The idea behind Recreate itself. Yeah. And then they're going to talk about the Recreate retreat. And Teresa's going to talk about the activities that they do there. So here we go.
Hi, awesome. I'm doing well, Al.
Hey.
Yes, give thanks.
You're welcome. Hey, listen to that background.
You hear the crickets?
Yes, the jungle is alive.
So yeah, I did come in 2009, Kim. I started in the cannabis space as a social worker, really. I was looking at cannabis as medicine and really considering it as something that was a viable substitute for opiates for people that I was working with in social work practice at that time. And so I sort of aligned myself with a dispensary that was operating in the gray market at that time. 2009, we were under the MMAR, and Health Canada was the only licensed producer to supply one strain of cannabis to all patients, regardless of their diagnosis and what their symptoms were. Mm-hmm. And I thought, this is a space that's not working at all. And so I came in as a social worker to HUMAN, which was the Hemp Users Medical Access Network, and looked at how can I help persons register for medical cannabis within Canada so that they had legal access, access through the gray market dispensary that we were operating as a substitute space for Health Canada. And I continued on that path for a number of years. We migrated and became known as MedCan Access. Again, the mission was to help people get access to cannabis through the Health Canada program, which was really challenging.
Yes, I. It's just a pleasure to be here, and listen to the relaxing ceremony that we're a part of right now. Well, so Recreate. It's really coming from the experience as a person who have been interacting with plant medicine, for a while, and with all the plants, I see this conversation that is happening, that we're really in a mental cycle as a people, and when I start to look at what was happening last year, that whole prefix of redefine and recreate and reperceive, so all of that kind of this whole idea of evolving, this idea of expanding, of becoming something that we have never been, something that nothing has prepared us for. That's the kind of a space where I felt the plant leading. And I'm saying this in relation to my Rastafari family. We use a lot of the what people are calling psychedelics, and in the space. And once we started that, it was just really listening to the plant and listening to the conversation of the plant. Yeah, so the retreat will be at this particular space where we have held one already, Coral Cove. And I mean, it's just the true Jamaican spirit, You're definitely on the beach, and you're with a group of owners that they understand hospitality. They are the people who they set up specifically for things like this. It's nice to know that you're with ganja people and ganja ownership in everything that you're doing, So
your list, what to expect. I mean, ganja infused plant-based meals, well, that's always a bonus, isn't it?
Yeah, and that was part of the design as well, is it's not just about, coming to Jamaica and doing mushrooms. We wanted to have this full experience, which involved things like understanding Jamaica as an island. And so taking tours to different water places where you can be one with the nature. We would go to blue holes, we would go to firewater places, we would take people to the beach, again, just to reconnect self with planet.
Yeah, you mentioned that you've got kayaking, paddleboarding, stuff like that, so you're getting right into the water as well.
Absolutely. And so for throughout the 7 days, there's something lined up on the schedule for everybody. Whether or not they want to engage in any particular activity is up to them, but what we're looking at is really just the idea of expansion rather than healing. We're talking about expanding your experiences with yourself, with your other guests, with the nature environment. And then that comes from, including cannabis in exercises. So having cannabis in a morning meditation routine, or having a cannabis infused meal, or, just having reasoning conversations where a chalice is being passed around and enjoying cannabis. It's a full week of activities and pleasures.
There you go, Kim. When are we going to Jamaica?
Yeah. I'd love to. It sounds fabulous. I'd love to be able to attend that retreat someday. Teresa and Firstman are awesome people. We've had several conversations since then. Great people, and I look forward to hearing more about the retreats.
Yeah, one thing that wasn't mentioned in there was the psilocybin ceremony. that happens through
Yeah,
the week.
yeah.
Yeah. And I asked her about the legalities of mushrooms there, and the mushrooms are legal there. There's no law against them.
Mushrooms are legal there. No, that's right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
So, but yeah, it was good. It was good to get together and talk with Teresa. I hadn't talked to her in a while. We go back to those human and MedCan Access days, and I remember doing an event with her during Pride Week in Toronto, talking about medical
Very
cannabis to a crowd of people. Yeah, it was good. It was good. So there you go. Dozen of our past guests. Kim, to do this in normal time, we probably would have to cut that down to like 8 guests or maybe 7 guests. And
yeah.
I don't know. We're gonna have to come up with a marathon show or something. I don't know. and that's
well,
only.
It was great reviewing the dozen, though. It was.
Yeah.
It was good reviewing them, and there was so many more we would have liked to have gotten in for sure.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I completely agree. All right. Anything else you want to say before we wrap things up here?
Happy holidays, everybody. Enjoy your holiday, whatever it is that you celebrate. I will be enjoying my time off, and we will see you all back here again in 2022.
All right. Good stuff. Just to remind everybody that all these interviews that you heard tonight, you can catch them in full length at paceradioshow.com, paceradio.net. You can find them there and listen to them. Check them all out in their entirety. Also, a reminder to let you know that we are off for Christmas and won't be returning until January the 12th. But on January the 5th, we'll be back with a year in review for the network, which will include the network hosts. And we'll be talking about guests and news from 2021 from the different shows. And that will be aired on StreamYard. So you'll be able to watch it, right, Kim?
Yeah, it's going to be very cool having a video podcast.
Could you imagine doing? Could you imagine doing this with video clips on StreamYard? Sure.
That'd be fun.
That'd be fun. A lot of
That'd be
editing.
fun.
All right. Okay, you can find the Pace Radio Network on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. And you can find us at paceradio.net. Thank you. Just go to our sponsors, Legacy 420, BMA Hydroponics, found at BMAHydroponics.com, Camelford Lifestyle Shop, as well as drbuckcts.com, who's the Cannabis Trimming Solutions. And a big thank you to all our guests that came throughout the year. We really appreciate you coming on, telling us your stories, and educating others in the process and doing so. We really enjoyed it. We had lots of laughs, and we look forward to next year. Other than that, thank you. Yes, absolutely. Thank you, and good night.
Good night.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net. Do you want to hear what patients and cannabis advocates have to say? If so, then catch the Pace Radio Show Wednesday nights here on paceradio.net.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.